I saw a UFO and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucer.
So they may be taken by a small craft up into the sky to a kind of mothership.
EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO? Over. Negative. We don't want to report.
Hello, and welcome to Really with Tom and Dave. Did I startle you, Tom?
Scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, well, I wanted to make sure you could hear me all the way from Anchorage, Alaska, where I'm
That's
currently...
amazing that you're in Anchorage, Alaska. I saw your view there, and it looks quite Anchorage-like.
It is a city surrounded by snow-capped mountains. It's really quite beautiful.
That's amazing. Have you been before?
I've been here. This is my third time here. I've been here a few times with the Whose Line Is It Anyway guys.
That's impressive. Nobody's been to Anchorage 3 times. I mean, that I know of.
I know.
No
I've
offense
stayed
to our Anchorage, Alaska fans, but that's far away.
This is my third stay here at the Captain Cook Hotel.
Captain Cook
in Anchorage. Yeah, and it's weird to me because I'm Canadian, and they come here and they go, "Wow, America! This is so American that you actually built a city here." Like the Canadian Arctic, we don't have cities.
No,
we
just let it be.
Yeah, there's towns. But we don't have this looks like any American city anywhere else in the continental United States.
Yeah,
people
have a look in their eye. I mean, it's just everybody chilling. Because I mean, how far is Anchorage from like the next city of note?
It's of note. Of note, very very far.
Okay.
I mean, the closest city of note would be probably Vancouver. If you're going to ignore Fairbanks and Juneau.
Yeah, we're ignoring Fairbanks and Juneau.
All right. But it's a very it's just that it just speaks to me about the difference between America and Canada in a way.
Canada not building cities in their natural big nature worlds.
We don't have like big cities in the Yukon or in the Northwest Territories or in Iqaluit.
Hey, got to use up those resources, man. Got to take advantage of water sources. Get some scenery working. Come on, Canadians, let's go
before America invades.
Let's go. Exactly. See, this is the problem.
I mean, this really should be the 11th
Kidding,
province.
Canadians.
I mean, Alaska really should, by all rights, be the 11th province.
Well, listen, while you're there, claim it. You are a high-profile Canadian citizen. Back in the olden days, you show up on some sort of soil that seems to be in dispute, plant that Canadian flag, say a few words, and then make them stop you.
I'll do my best. Well, I'm here for 3 days. We'll see what happens.
Day 3.
So anyway, also if I live in Alaska, it's kind of interesting because this is a hotbed for UFO sightings. Is Alaska as well, and so we've been. I mean, again, we keep getting waylaid by our actual jobs.
We're toying with the audience. We're toying with our dear friends out there that are waiting for some UFO goodness, and we're here to deliver. And we're gearing up. Just so everyone knows, this is gearing towards something you just won't believe. It's exciting. This is pre-crescendo, but it's going to blow some minds.
Yes.
As we are in this sort of new stage of Really, and we have a new segment actually. Like we're getting organized. We have a segment
which we'll launch into shortly.
Do you want to tell the world about it?
Well, I think we'll let our actions speak for us. I think. But as you know, I guess I can set it up a little bit.
Yeah, please.
I mean, we've talked before in the past about how once you dive into the UFO story. That it drags you into all kinds of different places and gets you thinking about, consciousness and what happens after you die and all of these sort of issues as well. And all sorts of paranormal things. And, essentially that your aperture of credulity gets kind of constantly blown apart,
yes.
And I used to have a very tight aperture of credulity in my youth. I don't want to boast.
Let's not. The less we hear about your tight aperture. Better.
But now we know. My aperture credulity is just a big sloppy mess.
So loose and flapping.
Okay,
we know.
I got this weird shadow on me.
It's kind of cool. I'm gonna.
Right.
It's gonna gives you an almost
reflection
sorbet feeling.
It's the reflection of the glass tabletop. But anyway, so we kind of have a segment that is in response to that feeling that we keep coming across things that we hope we don't have to believe in, and then evidence drags us into having to consider it anyway. And that segment, which I'll introduce it, and then we'll leave like a gap in case we come up with a fancy way of packaging it. All right.
Good idea.
So our new segment is a segment we like to call "Fuck, Really?" See, that's where
I hope so. If not, just us stopping like that will be gold.
Now, one of the things that came out in 2020 was a guy named Haim Eshed came forward. He was he's Professor Eshed. He was, it says here, one of the most respected and insightful experts in Israel. He headed their Israeli space agency with the Ministry of Defense. He was responsible for planning and developing Israel's satellite program and launching the OFEC-1 in 1988, which was a surveillance satellite. And he also helped develop Israel's defensive drone system, unmanned aerial vehicles. And so very, very established and reasonable guy.
He knows his topic, yes.
Yeah, but when he resigned, or retired, I should say, when he retired in 2020, he came out and he announced to the world that Israel, the United States, other governments in the world, had been in contact with something called the Galactic Federation for years and years. And this was a consortium, I guess, of alien species that were in contact with human governments. And this had been kept secret. And that he made a lot of revelations about this. And at the time of that, it was a lot of stuff that other people had talked about that I just always thought, I don't want to believe that. Things like subterranean Martian bases where Americans and aliens are working together on Mars. I don't want to believe that because that sounds crazy. Yes. But it's coming from this source. You sort of have to go, now I can't just ignore, because I've heard lots of people say, oh yeah, we have bases on Mars and we have a secret space program we've been able to travel to the Pleiades for decades and all that sort of stuff.
Did he also say we had a Martian base?
He said there was a Martian base where the U.S. and alien forces work together on a subterranean. I don't know if you call it subterranean, submartian, I guess.
It would probably have to be subterranean. It seems fairly inhospitable on the surface.
Yeah, I just don't know if technically you can call it subterranean if it's not on Terra.
Okay, Terra,
our planet,
Earth. Yeah, you need to make some. You have to allow for some substitutions. Until we get the whole Mars lingo down when we're there, and
I just don't want to get yelled at by people.
It's inevitable.
Subterranean only applies to Earth, you idiot.
It's inevitable. We will, my question is, who coined the term Galactic Federation? Did the aliens say we are the Galactic Federation? Because that
seems to be the case.
feels like some mid-tier military guy said, what do we call this weird consciousness thing that's like communicating with us? Let's call it the Galactic Federation. I mean, that sounds like something out of Phantom Menace. Not my favorite Star Wars movie.
No.
But like the Senate, and you just have these big-headed people in robes. I think that's a hard one, Dave, and I think we're going to have to. I mean, I think that's an appropriate fuck really a starter.
Yeah, I know, because you can't, because you have to think. And here's the other thing that gets me. It's like he makes references also to Eisenhower having treaties with aliens, which is another thing I never wanted to believe, because it makes me too unhappy with humanity to think that these things are true. I've always sort of comforted myself, and again, anytime you comfort yourself, you're probably wrong.
We're
Comfort is always should always be a red flag.
Yeah, we're going back to your aperture part of your conversation.
Yeah.
Listen, because this is just sort of like our segment, we need to have a whole episode on do we have to wrap our heads around the Galactic Federation, because I have one that is just as head splitting, which is the sort of recent kind of sub-story that came out of the Jake Barber interview with Ross Coulthart, the Michael Herrera interview with Jesse Michaels, that if you're following this subject matter of like recent whistleblowers, that now I have to consider the idea of the human trafficking of psionic assets, which was not on my bingo card of things that we would need to be dealing with, but and it also would, if I was to come out with a false story about UFOs, if we are going to dismiss some of these recent whistleblower testimony, then I would certainly not include a sub-story about the somewhat questionable, arguably extremely questionable aspect of finding, tracking psionic, telepathic people in third world countries, and I'm not even I mean, I am laughing. We're in bizarre territory. Then putting them in large containers and shipping them to various places because we are using them to summon UFOs. The government has been using these psionic assets to summon UFOs and then shoot them down. Or UAP. Let's if you use the modern, and there are some very justifiable questions of like, who are these people? Where are they from? How are we finding them? How are they being treated? Because Jake Barber, who was the whistleblower, supposedly, according to his testimony, he was a chopper pilot who worked on the range, a very secret California site where they test experimental aircraft and have a lot of encounters with UAP, which doesn't surprise me. Of course, it would make sense that they show up on these places where the most experimental, top-of-the-line military aircraft is being used. He suggested that these psionic assets were their powers were encouraged by a variety of means, including getting the fight or flight response going, that was aided by chemical means, which now walks us into DMT territory, I'm assuming. So now we're talking about dosing psionic assets with DMT and getting their fight or flight instinct going to summon UFOs, and then dropping the little tidbit that there were children involved. So that's just So
I know, and
at that point, my brain just goes all over the place, not in a good way, just like what the hell is going on?
Yeah, and it's also part of that is also they're saying that there's like a program through our educational system to find and recruit kids with psychic abilities. I don't know if Jacob Barber said he was sort of targeted by that, but that basically there's what seems like an innocuous, I forget what it's called, an innocuous part of the educational system that sort of, I guess, profiles kids and for what their abilities are. And when they find these psychic kids, they funnel them into programs to heighten their abilities.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and the other thing, the Herrera thing, because this goes back to another thing I hope isn't true, that we've had the ability to unlock anti-gravitic propulsion for decades and decades, and that it's being kept secret. Because he said that there's that he saw a craft that was a human-made craft in the jungles of, where was it, in Central America?
Indonesia.
It was in Indonesia. That was basically there was a platform on the ground, and he saw these like basically army jeeps driving up onto them, like Humvees with those containers,
with freezer containers or some sort of containers that gave him the impression that this was some drug trafficking operation with some sort of anti-gravitic ship that appeared to be a nuts and bolts
a giant
Earth-made
a matte
object.
black thing comes down above the platform. Then the platform levitates up into the machine.
And just for the audience who are going like, what are they talking about? We'll provide some links to some of these recent stories if you're just catching up and just wanted some, very easygoing, go down easy UFO conversation, and we hit you with some. The Michael Herrera was a Marine interviewed by Jesse Michaels. His story, Jesse Michaels has American Alchemy. He's really very great, gets great interviews, and has been doing yeoman's work. And we'll talk about one of his stories coming up in our official segment. But
yes,
Michael Herrera was a Marine, and just a story very worth listening to, incredibly interesting, and has since been sort of corroborated by the Jake Barber interview, and their stories intersected because Michael Herrera, as a Marine, encountered this anti-gravitic ship. They were sort of ambushed by American, some sort of, he didn't say special forces, there was some sort of...
There was gunfire, right?
There was gun pointing, but not gunfire.
Yeah.
And in any event, he has told this story. He was part of the Stephen Greer whistleblower testimony, and Jake Barber has since vouched for this guy. He's a good Marine. Everything he says is stuff Barber vouches for. And Jake Barber himself, having now, I've listened to hours and hours and hours of him, this is a brilliant guy, sort of like Grush, David Grush. These are clearly people that were operating at the highest levels of the military and special. They're really brilliant guys, perhaps batshit crazy, but my sense is there's something here to these stories. I don't know. Can't get to the bottom of it all, but high IQ, high functioning individual.
And we now have Jake Barber has started a private company to take the techniques they used within the military to the psionic and I guess electromechanical devices that they said were used to summon UFOs, and they're starting their own private project called Skywatcher, where they are basically going to replicate what they were doing in a top secret setting in a public facing setting. Yeah,
and he said partially the reason why, first of all, there is a 007 espionage story inside Jake Barber's journey that is amazing, and along with his discomfort with the whole psionic asset program and who these people were and how they may or may not have been treated, and that this is sort of his version of the above board summoning UAP aspect that's done through technology and willing and excited psionic assets.
Yeah,
more to come on that front.
I'll have to say one of my favorite quotes from him is when both, I think, Ross Coulthart in his interview with him and Jesse Michaels, when they asked, are you afraid of retribution? And he just said, I'm not afraid of the boogeyman. I am the boogeyman. That's where you go, that's kind of stone cold.
I like that. I'm going to use that.
Use it in meetings with network executives.
I'm going to use that with network executives in our future podcast with you. I'm going to use that. I won't use it with Chrissy because she's more intimidating than you are. But in any opportunity where I feel like I might be able to I think, throw it out there, I'm going to throw that out there. But it's he is a badass. Yeah. I actually do agree. I think the guy is a badass. Was trained to kill people and has probably killed people.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that was a great, healthy,
robust
to
the fuck really segment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, that things that we before would have hoped we don't have to pay attention to or take seriously, and then events occur where you go, oh fuck, I really got to think about this.
Yeah, both of them are head scratchers.
So when those things come along, we'll periodically do another one of these segments. But I guess we could segue into one of the things that we wanted to talk about. I'll let you take it from there.
I just think based on this, from the Haim Eshed aspect, just to build a little on that, I find it really interesting that we see a lot of UFO deathbed confessions, or you see late in life people coming around to unburden themselves of a secret, and I find it to be one of the most credible aspects of this. Now this part of this is inspired, and we can discuss all of these pieces. But your sort of interest in this, this guy, the end of his career, the twilight of his career, wants to talk about this issue, believes it's important. He's got all the accolades, awards, medals, degrees on the wall, everything, and he's choosing to use that.
Continues to work for the government even after doing this.
and wants to use that reputation to push this issue. So that makes you think, well, why? What possible gain? He only has to lose by doing this. Also, Jesse Michaels, who's been sort of everywhere on this issue in the last year or two, who I just discovered have a sort of 2 degrees of separation to this guy that I'm sure he has no idea about, and I didn't until a little while ago. I won't share what that is, but what I can say is he comes from a lovely family, very good, just good people and high quality human beings, and that vouches very well for Jesse and his his legitimacy and credibility for sure.
And if anyone listening to us hasn't gone on to YouTube and found his American Alchemist channel, they should, because he does amazing work of making like documentaries about different issues, and he does great interviews, and
and very, very plugged in and really
I know
stuff.
We met him briefly at the Soul Foundation, because I remember I went up to him and said, I really love the work you're doing, and he gave me a look that said very eloquently, "Whatever, old man."
There's that potential. Listen,
yeah,
there's that potential. He's a young buck.
Yeah,
he's
but his stuff is great. But I think and I think you were moving towards his. Well, we talked. You're talking about the Deathbed Confession. One of the things we talked about was the one that Richard Dolan's interview with an anonymous former CIA agent, right?
So I was kind of inspired. So Jesse did this interview with a guy named Harold Malmgren, who was who at the end of his life did this interview with Jesse. That he was a JFK advisor. He was a critical element in getting us through the Cuban Missile Crisis. Went head to head, nose to nose with Curtis LeMay in the Situation Room. Yeah, bombs away Curtis LeMay, who wanted to bomb the shit out of the Soviets first. And this Harold Malmgren made his bones and built his career on his confrontation that really helped buy the administration time to figure this out. So may have saved the world, this man, and now he came forward in this interview and said a few things that were pretty incredible. He claims to have physically touched material from a UAP that fell out of the sky during a nuclear test in the Pacific that was recovered by our government. He confirmed that this Magenta, Italy story of this UFO that fell in Magenta, Italy, which David Grush discussed about in his congressional testimony, that a UFO was recovered by the Italians, I guess ended up with the Vatican, but he said that was real.
Which also has a connection to Philip Corso, who wrote The Day After Roswell. And he was the liaison with Pope Pius before Pope Pius was Pope Pius in Italy.
I didn't know that.
And Corso was also one of the implementers of the Marshall Plan, under General Marshall. So he would have, Corso was tied into all of that back into the Magenta, at that period of the Magenta incident.
The Harold Malmgren said JFK, even before the presidency, was aware of this UAP issue. And he speculated that it was a factor in his assassination. That is one bridge I have yet to cross personally. That would go into the fuck really. That's a fuck really segment.
The kind of conspiracy thing.
It pops up a lot, but boy.
He pointed out that that JFK was in Navy intelligence, so that he believes that JFK would have been informed about the UFO problem. when he was working with naval intelligence.
And it made me just kind of look into this because this gentleman, Harold Malmgren, passed away. He didn't outlive this interview.
He died a few days after it.
Yeah, and so this is how this man wanted to account for his life. I mean, this is what he wanted to get off his chest. And there are other examples, as you brought up earlier. There, Richard Dolan, a friend of this podcast, a highly respected researcher on this topic, an author, just has a book out now about USOs, underwater.
Unidentified submerged objects.
There you go. But he's
first volume of a 3-part series. He's doing.
Yeah, he's top of the line, like very, very credible. And he has there's a 17-minute interview with an anonymous CIA whistleblower who has 6 months to live, and we'll provide the link in our YouTube feed or however we do these things. And
somebody will.
Somebody will.
Probably not us.
I hope it's not left us because we wouldn't know what to do. But
and this is a 2013 interview. Which at the very top of, if you're very quick, you'll spot our good friend Jeremy Corbell in the room at the very top of it. So I think Jeremy actually shot this interview for Richard,
which is amazing. And Jeremy's great, and obviously, incredibly, super credible and informed on this issue, and been on our show a bunch. And it's a short interview, but its impact is profound. He talks about he started his career. He was recruited by the CIA and brought onto Blue Book, Project Blue Book, which he said was half sham, which was half just a show. But there were some legitimate sightings they were investigating. But post Blue Book, he and his boss were summoned to Eisenhower, who his administration had just taken over. Dave, you can take over because I'm choking and dying.
Yeah, take a moment. We can edit it out.
Sorry, Dave. I had a hairball.
That's all right. You should, you should find another way to cleanse.
I don't. It's listen. Hey, I have a history with Puss in Boots, so. Yeah. So this gentleman was in the room with Eisenhower and Nixon, as he reports in this interview that, again, this was the last days of his life that he wanted to get this off his chest. Still afraid to give his real name because he had been visited and intimidated even at his old age by men in black suits in Lincoln town cars who said, do not speak of this, do not speak to your wife about this anymore. But he spoke to Dolan about Eisenhower and Nixon. They wanted to know what we have at Area 51. They wanted the goods. And Eisenhower said, if they don't want to give, these generals don't want to show us the materials, then I'll just get the 1st Army Regiment or whoever his guys were, because this is Ike. Yeah. He's no stranger to, military adventures. He was going to go and just fucking take over Area 51. And so they sent these 2 CIA guys to basically go find out what happened, and they were led to S4 Groom Lake, where Bob Lazar
fame. Yeah, and this is 30 years,
decades later from Bob's story.
Before Bob's story, yeah.
And it is the garages. He said there was a series of ships in garages, and that one of them was the Roswell craft, banged up, beat up. They said there were multiple bodies found, not deceased in there, but that they also had a couple, and that there was an interview underway with one of them. And this, again, I just want to go back to the sort of theme and what starts this story is like when you are at the end of this is it. This is the moment where, the billionaires give away their money. This is where you're about to face God. You're about to account for who you were in life and what you did. This is the time to bring your family around and what is important in your world. It's not the time where he's like, oh, I'm going to get a book deal out of this, or this is not the time where it's like, oh, I'm going to get on, I'm going to get on some podcasts and get a hotel room paid for at a UFO convention. Like, no, this is the story of this man's life, and he wanted to share what he shared, and apparently was, I believe his boss was led into the actual room with the actual being that was actually at Area 51, that they then went back and reported to Eisenhower and Nixon that indeed we have these materials, that they have a being or beings, I'm not sure. And again, Eisenhower was there, Nixon was there. He said Hoover was there. I guess Herbert Hoover's still alive. Or no, Hoover, FBI. I was like President
J.
Hoover.
Edgar.
J. Edgar was there. And he said that was when Eisenhower officially looked really, really upset and bothered by this. And that he said we have to keep this incredibly secret, and was really concerned about the military having this.
And he was very upset. He was upset about the number of black projects that were apparently going on, which again brings us back up to David Grush. I mean, like, all of these stories going over 30 years keep corroborating each other.
And now we have high functioning, high IQ. I mean, I keep saying it, but it's just like you listen to their interview. Like, these guys were in the special forces. Like, there's no, like, nobody's cosplaying, nobody's pretend. Like, come on, like, we're very we're familiar with what that would take to write these stories, to perform in this. So Barber and Grush are quite close to what they claim to be. That's not in dispute.
Yeah. And then you have people like Malmgren, who was like sought out, and MIT tried to recruit him when he was 14 years old. To basically be under the wing of MIT, because he had written letters to the Atomic Energy Commission asking questions about the nature of photons and our nuclear arsenal.
Someone said, this kid's special.
Said, we should check into this kid. So and he was working with his dad. His dad was a painter, restoring buildings in the Cambridge area, I guess. And so one day they were working near the home of the president of MIT, and he took him aside and said, "We really want to recruit you. We're going to pay for your quit high school, come to MIT. We'll pay all of your tuition and all the way through to your PhD." Which he turned down.
This shit's real. That happens. It happens at the elite schools. It happens at these. That's where they're looking, and they are looking for the absolute best. And the recruiting is real, and it sounds fictional and like out of a movie, but it happens, and it happened to these guys.
Yeah, and it's how he wound up in the Situation Room, in the War Room with JFK and Curtis LeMay and all those people. It was because he'd been basically on the radar since he was 14 of the American intelligence community. And
it reminds me, in Jake Barber's interview, how he was found. He was winning science contests because he was figuring out ways to essentially sort of align or equate harmonies with color. Something really, some sort of like music and color. I don't know, with synesthesia. I'm not sure of what the nature of it was, but it got the attention of, he was, somewhat rebellious, brilliant high school guy. And I think at 17, the military brought him in, and he went very high very quickly. And so these, again, they tell, these are similar stories. These people, these figures are separated by decades in some cases. They also, both Richard Dolan's anonymous CIA whistleblower on his deathbed and Harold Malmgren on his deathbed, both discuss Majestic 12. This idea of an elite group of scientists and political people and leaders who were there to sort of, protect this topic or oversee this topic, or were, intimately involved with it and organizing it, and
which people have gone to great lengths to try to debunk. I mean, I guess there were documents found discussing the MJ-12 and Majestic through FOIA.
In the 1980s, right?
Yeah. And, people have been arguing about them ever since they became public. But here you have these people who might not be that interested in that controversy, suddenly especially Malmgren just very casually says, Majestic was involved with this, and he doesn't even just talks about it like it's, well, we, like it's just as though he was mentioning some other branch of the intelligence community.
Sure, just another program, another project, or and these are not the. And again, there's another figure whose file I have right here, named Robert Sarbacher, who was one of the top science advisors to Roosevelt. He was involved in the U.S. Research and Development Board. He was an electrical engineer, and in a 1950 interview, essentially accounted to the existence of flying saucers. They didn't originate on Earth. This was not. I don't believe this was a public interview. These were part of the Wilbur Smith papers. He's a Canadian. But this guy Sarbacher did come forward in 1980 and essentially said that we were in possession of flying saucers. Roosevelt knew about it. They didn't originate on Earth. Were the subject of the most highly classified, one of the most highly classified topics in the U.S. government at a level higher than the H-bomb. Now, again, this is
and that was contained in a memo written by Wilbur Smith to the Canadian government.
Yes, and this is
after his meeting with Sarbacher.
His handwritten notes with Sarbacher that went to the Canada's Department of Transport, at which also the same document stated that Dr. Vannevar Bush, former head of the Office of Scientific Research and Development during World War II and created the post-war RDB, which was the Research Development Board, was in charge of a small group looking into the modus operandi of the saucers. And it's so this Sarbacher wasn't exactly at the end of his life in terms of weeks or days, but this is another highly respected, like you've done your, like you've gotten your laurels, you've got your reputation, and here you are now. What? You're just going to make that up for no good reason? Yeah,
we're the only. Really, the most likely potential outcome of going public with that kind of information is that you destroy your own credibility.
Yeah, because you've got dementia. You're insane. You're not to be trusted.
You'll not only destroy your current credibility, but you will stain and diminish your legacy. How you'll be regarded in history. Because we know, like even today, you see how like respected scientists, like Avi Loeb, are like lauded and respected, but as soon as they start looking at the UFO issue, they suddenly are ridiculed and mocked and denigrated.
Or John Mack, who was one of the most celebrated Harvard scientists, best-selling author, unimpeachable credentials and genius, brilliant guy who chose to look into the abduction issue. After he'd accomplished all you could possibly accomplish in his field and was and just put through the Galileo treatment. He was put forth in front of tribunals. Tribunals, Harvard tribunals. If you've violated all of the, just because he was trying to find out what's going on. Why are these kids in South Africa reporting that he did? It's a slippery topic, of course, and it's really hard. Will not be pinned down. It's got many tentacles, as we know, but I feel like that's why one of these things, this kind of conversation, helps. Just like, to me, it's just like it sort of stuffs it in a corner for a second. Like, okay, like we have these connected stories told by people who have, like, this is the end of what you don't give a shit at 6 weeks from your death. Like, you're just like, you just want to, kind of unburden yourself. And
the anonymous, I'd say the anonymous CIA agent, that's what he said. He said he felt like he was shouldering this burden all of his life, and that in having that conversation with Richard Dolan, that he was basically just doing it because he wanted to lift that weight, because he knew he was probably going to be dead soon. He hoped maybe he wouldn't be, but he figured he probably was.
Well, he knows he's one of a handful of people on this blue planet that has seen what is he's seen the answer to the greatest question of our existence of are we alone? Is there something else out there? And he saw it with his own eyes, and he's like, well, do I go to my rest just keeping that a secret? Like, what is my obligation to humanity, to my family, to whatever? I mean, and yeah, at the end of this short interview, because the guy can't breathe. I mean, there's absolutely no question this man's very sick. He said he felt relieved and was happy that he had done it. But obviously he had been scared in the past and intimidated into silence in the past, which is the SOP for so many of these people that want to talk about this topic. And that's why I feel like we can go from something like the fuck really segment of like, my mind is blown. I don't know what do I do? This topic is a jackrabbit. And then, but if you can find this cul-de-sac of like, why would these people confess this? Why, and the answer is they're telling the truth. They're telling the truth. Yeah.
As well, people often, like to abuse Occam's razor and, and Occam's razor is the notion, the answer with the fewest assumptions, the fewer hurdles and somersaults you have to go through is probably the truth. And with people like that, the most logical answer is they're telling the truth.
Yes, because the doubters would have to tie themselves into pretzels to explain why this, why
these people, and why so many people seem to be telling the same story over decades.
You have these crazy, even just briefly, even with the Jake Barber, I was a chopper pilot, I was picking up ships, we were summoning, these things. Then you have this Michael Herrera story, which seems to corroborate some of what Jake Barber was saying with similarities. Then you have coming out from left field the telepathy tapes, which is suddenly talking about
consciousness,
kids and consciousness,
communication through consciousness,
kids who would have who are non-verbally autistic, and they're having conversations with their chief caregivers according to multiple accounts. And I've even seen people on our comments saying like, oh, that's debunked. No, it hasn't been debunked. I don't know why it might make your mind go easier. It might help you not think about it. But it has not been debunked, in any
way at all. No, in any way at all.
It's a very difficult thing to reach into someone's head and prove that this communication is going on. And during the podcast, they repeatedly stated this is not peer-reviewed scientific tests going on. But
was she a Harvard researcher that worked with the woman who created the podcast?
Yeah, the woman that
she
worked with them, the doctor, she wrote a book, and she's been through hell trying to
she almost
talk about
lost her license.
Yeah, she did for a minute, and it was around this topic and ESP and even though
I mean, some people say that I know what some people say was debunked was the notion that these kids could communicate through spelling. Mm-hmm. They said because I forget the name of the organization that's in charge of what therapies are allowable,
approved.
but one of the things that for some reason your career would be over if you worked with autistic kids who were nonverbal and you gave them a stencil of letters and let them point at the letters to communicate.
I think in the mid-'90s they had some controversy with the early stages of this form of communication for nonverbal children on the spectrum, and that it has certainly grown. It sounds like it's matured as a means of communicating. As most kids now, a lot of kids they just need a sort of starter physical just touch, and then they can do it all themselves.
Yeah, basically they said they need to have help to find out where their arms are.
Yeah,
because part of the problem with these autistic kids is they don't have a sense of embodiment. So for them to learn how to do the spelling, they need someone to help them just feel where their hands and arms are.
Yeah,
But the notion that these parents were just like forcing them to write what they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Especially when you got these kids who are suddenly revealing information that the parents don't have.
Yeah.
One kid turned out he spoke 4 languages.
Yeah,
the parent couldn't do that.
I highly recommend listening to the telepathy tapes outside of the ESP issue, because there's just really wonderful interviews with parents and mothers and fathers and wrestling with this and coming to grips with what they're learning about their kids and their inner lives of their children, and what that, how they have to reconcile their relationships with their children and how they view their condition. And it's amazing.
And it's also a great story of how sometimes scientific orthodoxy can be a roadblock to improving people's lives and to advancement in science. Because you have these parents who, some of them, these kids are in their 20s, and they've basically been treated their entire lives as though they had mental retardation, that they were intellectually incapable of thinking and communicating and connecting, and basically they were told your child is just an empty shell. There's nobody inside there. And then suddenly this avenue is opened up to them, and they have this rich life with their children as a result, where their children are communicating. And one thing I found really moving too is that some of these kids said, we're here for a reason. And they started talking about how we're here for a reason. We're here to educate everyone that there's a better way, that there's a better way to communicate, that we have abilities. We all have these abilities, and that we're a part of the evolution of humankind. That they aren't a problem. They are a step forward. So that's kind of inspiring.
It is inspiring. It's an amazing podcast, very worth listening to, and it also dovetailed neatly with some of these what you would consider completely different storylines, whether it's Jake Barber and how consciousness is viewed as a critical component of seeing, communicating, and in some cases retrieving UAP, and this Michael Herrera guy who saw something he couldn't explain, had a story that struck everyone as way bizarre, super outlier. What do we do with this? And then it turns out it was getting corroborated by Jake Barber's story, and you can take it all and just say, I'm done with it. But it goes back to, for me, you have we have these difficult, inside the rabbit hole concepts, whether it's telepathy and ESP, or we've got anti-gravitic technology. And then you just focus it in on people of high reputation, sort of unimpeachable reputations, who spent lifetimes in government at the highest levels in the Oval Office with the leaders of the free world, confronting this issue. And on their deathbeds, they are not saying, there's nothing to this UFO thing, cut out the crap, deal with each other, it's only humanity, we're alone in the universe. But that's not what they're saying. They're saying the opposite. They're saying that these stories, let's take Bob Lazar's story, because he is he's the dividing line, he's controversial, he's a lightning rod, he's the Rubicon, you're whatever, you're on one side or the other. But here you have this guy before his death basically confirming every aspect of Lazar's story.
That S4 existed, and
S4, the garages, the craft, the Roswell, it's beat up. Even Lazar said these things were beat up. So it wasn't Lazar listening to this guy's interview. It was this guy on his deathbed repeating what Lazar said 30 years before.
Yeah.
So not bad.
No.
And pretty fascinating. And for me, when I am also just kind of grasping, where my brain gets tired, I'm like, I just can't, I have to know, because we know a lot of it is bullshit. There's grifters everywhere. It's true. It's the topic is rife with grift and
delusion and
and it's a natural magnet for that kind of stuff. And yet,
but you can focus on that, or you can pay attention to the growing and voluminous number of credible, intelligent, reputable people with nothing to gain who are deciding to come forward and tell these stories. So you can focus on, maybe you're a crazy aunt that believes all sorts of crazy things, or that stereotype of the UFO believer, or you can question your own assumptions about what is worth thinking about, what's worth investigating, based on the fact that these people with nothing to gain keep coming forward simply out of a sense of duty. And people whose credentials are, unimpeachable, whether it's, Harold Malmgren or Haim Eshed,
Robert Sarbacher, Dolan's anonymous CIA whistleblower.
Yeah. Or David Gresh, David Fravor, Ryan Graves, all these people who have only something to lose.
Well, we certainly can attest and certainly know people who are, very close to Grush, and it's like he's not having fun. Like, it's not a fun ride, and it is, the idea, they really are, they really do. They tap your phones, they intimidate you. I mean, this is what you have to.
Lou Elizondo gave up security, comfort, career, not just for himself, but for his family. They went from, living quite nicely to living in a trailer because he decided to tell the truth.
Because if you take the wonder and the awe and the incredible of, the Majestic 12s, and there's saucers at Area 51 and Roswell, and that we have been, then you also kind of have to take the bad with it, which is that this is a secret that's been kept in black projects, for decades and decades, that we've been denied the truth of our reality, and that they're willing to, intimidate and surveil and do all things,
and murder
and do what is necessary to keep that secret, presumably because, let's be honest, there's a huge profit and attached to it, and we may have already reverse engineered things that we haven't the foggiest idea about. And
I guess that's the thing, I'm still Pollyanna enough to not want to believe that if we had succeeded in reverse engineering this technology, that it would be withheld from humanity. The Pollyanna in me keeps getting slapped down more and more lately, because I just could never understand. I couldn't fathom the rationale behind keeping it a secret. If we have unlocked 0 point energy, and if we have unlocked anti-gravity, that would change for the good of all humanity, the world, so quickly. And can it really be that just the greed of a handful of people, or the desire to just keep killing each other, could override that in anyone's mind? And and I'm still reluctant to believe that that's the case. And I'm also reluctant to believe, I don't want to believe there are bases on the far side of the moon. I mean, obviously, if I think there's aliens on Earth, why do I have a problem with that? But I guess part of it is that I've met a lot of the men that went to the moon, and they orbited the moon quite a bit, and I'd like to think that if they had seen that, they would tell the world.
Yeah, listen, I think there is some UFO mythology that is bunk. That there are things that are not true. There are things that, it's naturally, obviously, that has to be the case and is the case. I'm certain of it. What we're trying to do is corral. I'm trying to corral some of these things into a corroborative pen. We've got sort of this over here, this story, this name appears over here, this where I can start to feel like, okay, I'm because the hardest thing is to try to get a whole picture of this issue. But when you have deathbed confessions and this credible person and that credible person and this story and this shows up here and that makes more sense here and we heard about this before this deathbed. Like, you're starting to see the Lazar, Area 51, saucers, that story, Majestic 12, the 50s. Like, you really, the picture is just like coming into focus. The lights in this dark house are starting to come on in different rooms, and you're being able to say, like, okay, this is now, we have surrounded this story, and we're, you know, and in so doing, like, it's coming out of mythology and just becoming history, and is you know, and because it's true. I think that's it's fucking true. And just to the other thing that you said about being Pollyanna, about the profit motive, I feel would be supported by the parties that are fearful of what disclosure does, right? Like, so if you're a president, you don't want to be the one responsible for saying, hey, we're powerless to this. So you are then swayable to those that say, well, then let's keep it here. Let's learn what we can from it. And at the right time, and we'll trickle out little bits of it so that people can benefit from what. But so there's certainly a that's my cynical. It's used to say, like, oh God, you tell us it's like, you know, religions will topple and cities will burn and we have no answers, and that way certain people can continue to benefit from this incredible secret. And secrets are power. We all know it's like you hold information, and you feel powerful if you know something someone else doesn't, and it's the ultimate secret. That's going to be very intoxicating.
Well, one of the things we learned at 9/11 was that the power of secrecy, it was even within various governmental agencies that were supposed to keep us safe. Their desire to hang on to secrets meant that none of them were communicating with each other about the threat of 9/11 that was coming.
Right.
Even though there was a lot of evidence.
Yep.
But none of them would talk to each other because they all like to keep their secrets from each other, whether it's FBI or the CIA or NSA. None of them were talking to each other.
And who knows? And it sounds like the compartmentalization was really creating slow going. If you listen to Bob Lazar's story, it was the compartmentalization of who was in charge of what. You got one person that's just allowed to think about navigation. You got one person over here is dealing with metallurgy, and one person. And no one's allowed to talk to each other or know what anybody else is learning or discovering, which is the antithesis of science and stupid. Yeah. And it's just it's a really rigid, linear kind of, in this case, military thinking does not do any favors to that kind of organization. It's just. And
I guess you also got to throw into the hopper the notion that both Haim Eshed and Whitley Strieber have said, which is that the non-humans are the architects of the secrecy themselves. Haim Eshed says that they are basically leading the governments of the earth on what they can reveal and can't reveal. And
well, then there you go. That's another fuck really segment, because that's, Whitley in one interview he'll drop. He'll drop any number of bombs on you where you're going like, I was just thinking about this thing, but now I'm like, whoa. He's way ahead in terms of sort of kind of he's been through whatever veil has to be gone through and is just on the other side and telling us little bits and pieces from the view there. Yeah. Like your beautiful Anchorage view.
Yes. I could show it to you. But
I get a little bit of it in the mirror there, but
yeah.
And what are you doing there? Are you doing a kids in the hall show?
We're actually just doing a convention with the kids.
Oh, okay.
With the kids in the hall. So we're just up here for a few days. It's nice,
That's fun.
Meet fans and a good excuse for the five of us to get together and not agree on anything.
Yes, that's great.
It's one of our favorite pastimes.
People would love to pay to see you guys argue.
Yeah.
That'd be good stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Hopefully I'll be back in LA soon and we can hang out again.
Yes, we can sit together.
Or I'll be in New York one of the times you're in New York finally.
That would be also awesome. We missed you this last time. I don't think you were there.
No, I was on the road already.
All right.
Well, the schools.
We to our audience, we're chugga. We're getting back to a sort of regular schedule, and we are really, really excited for the summer. There's amazing things afoot for this podcast, for us, for this topic of disclosure, and we're going to be bringing you all the best news we can from the way the entertainment world views this topic, and just our own, our typical ramblings, which we find very entertaining ourselves. Yeah. Hopefully you guys do as well.
And hopefully we'll keep trying to direct people to interesting sources of information. Yes,
for sure. So we'll provide the links to some of these amazing conversations so you can judge for yourselves the whys and wherefores of what people choose to discuss at the end of their lives, and they're great interviews, and I found it it's one way to approach this issue that to me is really unimpeachable in some ways. It's a very does make you ask all the kind of right questions. But good chatting with you, buddy.
Okay. Oh, and just before we actually part here, Tom, Chrissy has just let us know that she has created an email address for people who want to make suggestions about subjects for the Fuck Really segment. And that email address is fckreallysuggestions@gmail.com. So if anyone out there wants to send in stories or
we
issues.
Want your ideas. Yes. What's blowing your mind? Let's keep it clean, people, even though the name of our segment is not.
Fuck Really. Yeah. And also... please remember I know there are lots of buttons and things that you need to click on that say you like us.
All right, Dave, we don't have to sound that old. We don't have to sound this, come on. Like and subscribe, people. You know what to do.
Like, subscribe, push every button you see.
Just slam the keyboard.
Yeah.
Let us know what you're thinking.
Throw your computer against a wall, and I'm sure something will happen.
Yes.
But please press all those buttons, because apparently that helps with something called an algorithm, which as a high school dropout, I do not understand. And please tell a friend. Tell a friend about us.
Yeah. Okay. We read your comments. We love them.
All right. And now we'll get off your computers.
We wish you a good night.